So welcome into another episode of Ravens Reports. As you can see, we are back officially in the studio at home. It's January football, baby. We got some injury updates. We got a big-time matchup upcoming with the Cleveland Browns to clinch the AFC North and lock up the number 3 seed in the AFC playoff race. We got offensive coordinator Todd Monken talking about the mindset, Lamar Jackson historically in the playoffs, and much more. You got to hear it, as well as Roquan Smith talking about defending the bank on Saturday in a big-time matchup with the Browns. Zach Orr addressing the media, MVP updates, and much more. So let's dive into the episode. At number 1, Todd Monken was asked about Lamar Jackson's history in the playoffs, specifically the offense as a whole, about how the last few years the offense has not lived up to its expectation, its standard that it's set in the regular season. They have not lived up to that in the postseason. And kind of asked, he was asked, did you ever look back at any of those Lamar Jackson games and kind of see what happened? And I want you guys to listen what Todd Monken had to say about the offense moving forward and about the disappointing loss against the Kansas City Chiefs last year that really still scars him.
And a lot of this predates you. The offense just hasn't been able to play at that regular season level in the playoffs. Did you go back and look at any of those previous games with Lamar in the playoffs before you got here? And are there anything you guys think you can do? Obviously, you're playing tough teams, I get that, but to keep it humming at close to the regular season level in the postseason?
Not really, unless it's an opponent that we were getting ready to play. Then you might look at, that's a big thing with them, how they play other teams, how they play Lamar. So that comes up with whoever that is, but I can only speak to last year, and we didn't play good enough in the second game. We played good enough in the first game. So just having the second game that we just didn't play well enough, didn't coach well enough, didn't call it good enough. And so, try to forget as best I can. That's hard because you're always going to have scars. That's just what you do. That's how you learn. That's how you get better. And but the bottom line is I'm worried about this year and who we play this year. And once we get in and, playing our best football then. And you're right, you do play tougher teams. It doesn't matter in what professional sport you get to the playoffs. I mean, you're seeing the best pitchers in baseball, you're seeing the best defenders in basketball, you're seeing the best teams. So, and we are one of those teams, and we need to be able to do it when it counts, that's for sure.
One of the big differences about this year's offense is it's the second year in Todd Monken's offense. It is familiarity with Zay Flowers in his second year, not being a rookie anymore, but also in the same offense. Rashad Bateman being healthy, the tight ends being in the second year of the offense. Lamar Jackson knowing all the terminology, the leadership step that he's taking, the changes at the line of scrimmage, having more control of the offense. It's all of that has helped Lamar Jackson have a historic season, which we'll talk about some of the numbers here in a second. One of the biggest improvements over the last few weeks has been a change in the run game. Okay, some crazy stats we're going to nerd out on here for a second. If you guys aren't into it, bear with me, skip ahead, whatever you got to do. But I find this fascinating. Check this out. While Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens offense has operated significantly more under center this year, 29.6% compared to last season at 15.2%. Right, so Derrick Henry comes into the offense. We talk about Lamar Jackson, the bootlegs and the nakeds and stuff that you can run with him under center. It's always been a question, right? This season, it's been almost 30% of under center football, right? So it's double what it was last year at 15%. Baltimore is finding success, however, the last few weeks since the bye week, running Derrick Henry in the shotgun and pistol formations, right? So Lamar Jackson up right underneath the center, Tyler Linderbaum taking the snap, turning his back to the defense versus him in the pistol or the shotgun taking the snap and then having a read, having Derrick Henry to his left or his right has made a big difference in the run game over the last few weeks. Check out these numbers. Nearly 11% of Henry's runs this season have been out of the pistol formation, and he's averaged a whopping 8.5 yards per carry on those runs. 8.5 yards per carry. That's absolutely absurd. Part of that is teams are worried about Lamar Jackson keeping it, right? About him, getting the edge, getting the perimeter, and him getting out in open field. And it's opened up a lot for Derrick Henry. Last week against the Texans, whenever Derrick Henry went wild, he had 9 carries for 104 yards out of the shotgun and pistol in those formations. Offensive coordinator Todd Monken said the Ravens' heavier use out of running and shotgun since the bye week is part of self-scouting, right? So, looking at on tape how, predictability and how defenses would adjust, but also the Charlie Kolar injury that the Ravens have had. So Charlie Kolar, we know, actually broke his forearm because Derrick Henry hit him, broke that forearm, but he's actually back at practice. So we can have some more, some boost to the run game, some more options in the Ravens tool belt heading into a playoff run where I think Derrick Henry is going to be unleashed and Lamar Jackson is going to do Lamar Jackson things. This team is 100% capable of Super Bowl, but I want you guys to listen to what Todd Monken had to say about the different running formations this year.
That's something you guys talked about during the bye, or?
Some of it's that, and some of it we didn't have Charlie. Charlie's kind of our C-gap tight end blocker, so it's got a little bit of both. And who we were playing, certain teams presents itself, for us to be under center a little bit more. And then, so combination of self-scout, combination who we're playing, and combination of Charlie, all the above.
One other thing along those lines, if I could. I watched all the cut-ups on everything you guys have done out of the pistol and shotgun since the bye. And Lamar does not have a keeper against an 8-man box, but he's averaging over 11 yards per carry when he does. Like, every single time, like it's Derrick. Like it just seems like how much of this is just what he does in those situations, knowing what to do.
Saying we should have Lamar pull it more often? We need more yards? I'm with you. I'm gonna have to go look at that.
I mean, literally it's a 0% keeper rate against the 8-man. Like, we talk about his evolution as a passer, but what about his mind in that part of the run game?
Well, he does a tremendous job of being disciplined. One thing that happened early last year is we put the ball on the ground with some of our exchanges. That's wood, but it's like, okay, so we've been better with our exchanges, where you can trust that in all situations, red zone, 4-minute, critical situations. But whether it's 8-man spacing or whether it's a 2-shell and a 7-man box, most of the time doesn't have a lot to do whether he pulls it or not. Usually the edge rusher, somebody that we're reading is a part of that. So certain teams that we've played have decided that they want to jet up the field. The Steelers are one of those. And at times the Texans were like that to try and not let Lamar beat us and get the ball in the perimeter, which that's their decision. Obviously having Derrick and getting him running downhill has been good for us. And there's certain things that we've evolved to, and there's other things that I think are better for Derrick and us when we're under center. But I just think he does a great job with it. Derrick has really blended in well with what we've asked him to do.
All right, guys, so I don't know about you, but I found that really intriguing, seeing the success out of different formations, and then also the option to go back to some of those C-gap runs with Charlie Kolar coming back, and just the versatility the Ravens have on offense to play action, stretch vertically deep with Bateman and Flowers, stretch horizontally, the run game versatility, just all the familiarity and terminology with Lamar Jackson. It feels like, and especially with the defense coming along, it feels like the Ravens have everything they need. Especially the personnel, they're healthy, man. They're getting hot heading to playoffs. Look out for these Ravens. But at number 2, first things first, right? You got to win the division. To win the division, you beat the Browns, you clinch the AFC North. You could still win the AFC North if you lost to the Browns and then the Steelers lost to the Bengals. However, Ravens take care of business. It's game over. No scoreboard watching. It's a T-shirt and hat type of game where they're wearing the AFC North champs on their chest proudly. And Roquan Smith is not overlooking the Browns, who everyone is expecting a blowout in this game. Look at the odds and everything. But do you guys remember what happened the last time the Ravens played the Browns? It was a huge upset game. We had a couple of dropped interceptions. I think we had a bad turnover, some missed field goals. The Ravens didn't play their best ball. And Roquan Smith is saying, don't overlook the Browns, man. These guys are coming in, on national television with their families at home, looking for a job for next season. So don't, count out the Browns. Here's what Roquan had to say about defending the bank, winning the AFC North, and about these Browns coming into the home territory trying to take over.
Care of business, you win the North. Is there also any sense of, man, we got to pay back for what happened week 8?
That's definitely something on the forefront of everyone's mind, knowing that we didn't play the way we wanted to play during that game, but I feel like we're a totally different team from what we were then. So it's about showing exactly who we are, keep building on our momentum, and got to take it to them. We got to defend our turf by any means. But no, it's not going to be an easy one. Like, these guys are fighting for their livelihoods. They got jobs, they got families they have to take care of. So no, it's not going to be anything lightly, but prepared for whatever. Personally, I don't look into what people say as far as, oh, we should win this or we should win that. If it was based off that, the game wouldn't be played. The game is played for a reason. Those guys are in the NFL. Those guys have a family to feed, kids at home, wives at home, so they're going to put it all on the line and play for an opportunity for them to have a job next season. And that's why I know how I'll be if I was in that position, and I know guys on that side of the ball that would be the same exact way. So that's what it is, nothing else about that.
Roquan Smith been playing a lot better over the last few weeks, especially having Malik Harrison and Chris Board next to him as opposed to Trenton Simpson, who was benched in favor of those two other guys. However, Zach Orr and Roquan Smith still think that the future is bright for Trenton Simpson. Just he's a young player, needs more experience under his belt. But at number 3, MVP talks continue to storm. Josh Allen is still favorited. There's a lot of narratives being pushed on social media and certain networks and everything. That's fine. I just want you guys to see this so we can appreciate the greatness that's unfolding. One of the best seasons that's ever been played by a quarterback in the National Football League. Lamar Jackson currently has the highest touchdown to interception ratio for any quarterback in any season since 2000, okay? Since 2000. And that's out of quarterbacks with 30-plus touchdowns since 2000, man. Absolutely absurd. 9.8, which is first out of 117 quarterbacks. Also, I mean, and if you look at the company of that rate that he's putting up, the only other quarterbacks to ever have 30-plus passing touchdowns and an interception rate under 1% in a season was Aaron Rodgers in 2021, who won the MVP, Tom Brady in 2010, who won the MVP. So the only other quarterbacks that have ever put up those type of numbers have won MVPs. We'll see if Lamar Jackson gets it, but also, man, check this out. Lamar Jackson with the highest EPA and efficiency at avoiding sacks this season. Already avoided 28 sacks. Can you imagine, throughout watching a season of football, if Lamar Jackson was sacked 28 more times, what that would have done to the offense? How it would have stalled drives, killed drives. Instead, Lamar Jackson has avoided 28 of them and turned a lot of sacks into touchdowns. What he's doing is absurd. He also broke the record that was held by Michael Vick for all-time rushing yards by a quarterback, over 6,000, in a shorter amount of time as well. So the passer rating is also the second best that's ever been posted by a quarterback. So it's the passer rating, it's the touchdown interception ratio, it's the rushing yards, it's the sacks avoided. It's also the fact that Lamar Jackson, he definitely has a supporting cast and weapons, but it's not like he's throwing to, example, Tom Brady had like Randy Moss and some other absurd weapons at times. Joe Burrow, the great season that he's putting up, he has Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, two like number one wide receivers. You can look at Aaron Rodgers, when he was thrown to Devontae Adams and some other really good weapons as well. Lamar doesn't have like a star receiver. Zay Flowers is a number one. He had over 1,000 this year, but we can't put him in like stardom, caliber yet. So Lamar Jackson's doing some really special things this season that we just need to appreciate as Ravens fans, man. But at number 4, we got some injury updates for you guys. We play on Saturday at 4:30. We talked about this in the last video. I'm not a fan of that time slot because essentially if the Steelers would have played first, then the Ravens could have essentially rested some of their guys because they would have already clinched the AFC North. However, because the Ravens play first, they have to play all their starters. The Steelers could choose, if they wanted to rest some of their guys. However, the Steelers are going to play after the Ravens, so they'll know if the AFC North title is even in play or not. So at that point, they're fighting for seeding, like a 5 or a 6 seed, which isn't a big difference. But, I definitely don't like how the NFL didn't have all the teams with playoff implications playing at the same time, so there wasn't any unfair advantages. The NFL has traditionally tried to do that, But this year, obviously, they want network ratings and boosts and stuff like that as far as watch time and, prime time slots and all that. I get it, but she's not a big fan of the Ravens having to play first. But nonetheless, I think the Ravens go in, take care of business at home, win the AFC North. The following week, get another matchup at home in the playoffs. Whoever we're going to host, man, line it up, strap it up. I don't care if it's Pittsburgh. They can come get the business again in Baltimore. I don't care if it's the Chargers and, Jim Harbaugh wants to get revenge on his brother who he's never beaten an NFL game. I don't care who it is, man. Strap it up, line it up, and let's go, man. Like, Lamar Jackson is playing for legacy. He's so hungry for a Super Bowl at this point. The entire team is been working for this. Derrick Henry, the type of season he's having, he wants a championship. The defense is playing great. The coaching staff is hungry. They saw how last season ended, man. So let's line it up and see what happens in the dance, because I don't think there's a single team in the league right now that the Ravens can't beat, and I 100% believe that. You can look at the AFC playoff picture. Every team in the AFC playoff picture right now, the Ravens have beat, except for the Kansas City Chiefs, who in that game we missed multiple field goals. Isaiah Likely's toe didn't get down on the white line. We know how that game could have ended, but also over 100 penalty yards in that game. So there's not a team that the Ravens can't beat. But at number 5, we're talking about that defense. I want you guys to hear what Zach Orr had to say regarding the negative talk. People were saying, fire him, fire him, because through the first few weeks, it was looking rough. Ravens had one of the worst defenses across the board, except for run defense. Over the last, since really about week 10 or so, the Ravens defense has been lights out, like night and day difference. And they've actually have one of the highest EPAs in the league since the bye week. And what they've done to really good offenses like the Eagles, the Chargers, the Texans, man, pitching a shutout against the Texans. The defense has definitely turned a leaf and actually become a strength of this team. And we know how good the offense is. So that's why I'm talking about this team can win it all. But here's what Zach Orr had to say about hearing the negative talk and his family hearing it, but then also the rewarding part of seeing that fruit come to fruition with the performances they've had as of late.
It was tough just because, my family and all that. My family, they see stuff and everything. So I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm naive or I don't hear that stuff. And, my family, they the ones that were really affected, by it. But, I tell them all the time, it's nothing new, man. It's like adversity always going to hit. And if I'm gonna preach it, I got to live it. So, like we always say, there's no testimony without no test. So we're just going through a little test. And, hey, there might be more tests to come, but we know how to handle it. So you just got to block out the noise, whether it's good or whether it's bad, and stay focused at the task at hand.
Flip side of that, and I know you're always sort of looking ahead and planning for the next thing, always trying to improve, but did you allow yourself any gratifying moment, or did you feel any gratifying moment when you saw the guys kind of turning the corner on some of that stuff?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, you always appreciate when the work starts to show. When the work starts to show, like I said, we keep talking about putting the work in. When it starts to show and it starts to pay off, you definitely appreciate those things. And I think for us, and me personally, and for us here in this organization, it just makes you even hungrier, man. It makes you want to even go even that much harder. So that's what we chasing now. So it's good to see the work to pay off, but we know we got a lot more work to do, and that's what we chasing. That's what we hungry for.
All right, guys. So I'm fired up for this game on Saturday. It's playoff time. It's January football. Man, so make sure you got your subscribe and notification bell on so you don't miss any game previews, news updates, content, anything Ravens related, man. We got you covered here. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. Smash the like button if you got any value out of today's content. We'll see you in the next video.
When he wasn't looking, he ran me over.